Beloved station, Radio Cayman.
The voice,
the heart, the soul of the Cayman Islands.
For the record, proudly brought to you by
Vamped Motors, the only authorized Ford and Toyota dealership serving the Cayman Islands. Coca-Cola, available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga distributors. Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. Brand Source Home Gallery, inspiring luxury. West Bay Pharmacy, taking care of your health. And JN Money.
From abroad to yard.
Fast, affordable, convenient. Doctor's Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctor's Hospital. Always there for you. Call 949-6066.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Coming to you live from Radio Cayman Studio.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you. For the record. Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orrett Connor.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, O land of soft, fresh breezes and verdant trees, so fair. Today is Wednesday, the 11th day of January, 2023. Right here in the beautiful Cayman Islands. We do hope and we trust that everyone had a restful, peaceful, enjoyable evening. Those of you who are on the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, we urge you to please, please, please be extremely cautious. Whether you're a pedestrian, a cyclist, or if you're operating any type of motorized vehicle, we urge you to ensure that you observe the rules of the road, including if you're driving 6 o'clock, 6:30 in the morning, it is still dark. You should use your headlights. I've seen several cars driving in the mornings without any running lights whatsoever, no lights on. In the dark. That is extremely dangerous. And those of you who do have your lights on, only use your high beam when it is absolutely necessary for you to have more visibility in front of you. But at the same time, you also want to bear in mind the vehicles, the drivers that are coming in the opposite direction, because your high beam will blind them as well. Now, I am certain that some of you do not know what a dip switch is, or, what a high beam is. In the old days, it used to be a round silver button on the floorboard of the vehicle, and you used your foot, to dip the switch, right? To change from high beam to low beam. You use your feet. And in more modern vehicles now, it is on your steering wheel, usually the same switch that is used for you to put your headlights on or for you to turn your wipers on. It is there. And one is wondering, with all of the artificial intelligence, everything else, the self-driving vehicles, whether or not, and some of you may have it now. My vehicle is 2007, so that is 16 years old. But I'm sure that there may be newer vehicles where the lights may dip automatically when, if they're traffic coming in the opposite direction. I don't know if that's the case, let me know as well. But meanwhile, we have many vehicles on the roads of the Cayman Islands where it has to be done manually. And many of you are not doing that either because you don't know that there's such a thing as a high beam and a low beam and that there's a switch for you to control that, or you simply are a rude driver and have no considerations for all of the other drivers on the road as well. We also want to remind you that whenever you're navigating a roundabout, and this is something that is a strong proponent of that, Miss Sharon Ebanks, and I want to commend her for that. I keep saying that we know that the National Roads Authority will be working on signage as well. I keep saying that to sort of like push them to work on that, but I haven't really seen any signs yet, so I'm not sure how much longer I can continue to say that they're on board with this if I don't see some action as well. But putting signs up to remind drivers to use your indicators whenever you're navigating a roundabout as well. Okay, that's enough for the traffic this morning. Those of you who are celebrating a birthday today, we want to wish you a happy birthday. I also want to remind you that the birthday shout-outs are proudly brought to you by life insurance agent Michael Webster from Cayman Insurance Center. And his words of wisdom to you are, make the right decision for your family's future today. And let's see who's celebrating a birthday today. Based on some information from Facebook, we're seeing, and I want to thank Miss Susan Watson in the control room there for, providing this every morning for me. Mr. Hugh Cottrell celebrating a birthday today. Miss Annika Connolly, Mr. Ernest Parchment, Mr. Gary Arden Ebanks, and Miss Shauna Martin. That's what Facebook is telling us. Those are the persons who are celebrating a birthday today. So we want to wish you a happy birthday, or if you celebrated one over the past few days, a belated happy birthday to you as well. For those of you who have lost loved ones, again, we want to extend our sincere condolences to you. We do hope and trust that your faith will help to carry you through these extremely challenging times, and that the memories of your loved ones will continue to be a blessing to you as well. And again, we want to extend special condolences to the family of Miss Josie Solomon, Janice Solomon. Josie is her pet name, I believe, Janice Josie Solomon. We want to extend condolences to her family as well. And I promised you that I would do some research, and I have found something. Tradewinds newspaper, the 24th of February, 1966, I believe it is. An article. Mr. Willie Wood was the reporter for Bordentown, and there's an article there about Miss Josie returning from Jamaica from her training as well. And she was also in 1983, when there was a Nurses Month in the Cayman Islands, I believe it was called, and she was crowned the Nurse of the Year in 1983. So I found that much that I will be sharing with you as well, because like you heard Mr. Roy Borden say on Monday morning, Miss Josie was an icon, and he spoke personally about her as well, visiting him while he was at Micro Training College in Jamaica, and she was there studying as well. She would visit him, spend time with him, on the weekends as well. So we're going to share some details with you on that this morning. Those of you who are ill and are either at home or at a medical facility here in the Cayman Islands or overseas, we wish you a speedy recovery as well. And a big shout out to our Canadian cycling friend, Mr. Greg, who is visiting us here on the island as well. So give him a big shout out this morning. So, folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman and by extension For the Record into your homes, into your vehicles, as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, wherever that may be. As you know, For the Record is a show produced by the staff and management of Radio Cayman, and it is geared towards keeping you abreast of issues as they arise on the local, regional, and international scene. I am your host, Orrett Connor, and you're welcome to join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 10 a.m. During that period, our phone lines are open. Beautiful radio voice of Miss Susan Watson again, waiting to take your calls this morning. You can call us on a toll-free number provided courtesy of Flo. That toll-free number, 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 and 949-6990. Email us at fortherecord, one word, fortherecord at candw.ky. WhatsApp us, 925-3261. Follow us on YouTube. Do that simply by subscribing to Radio Cayman live stream. And of course, we are on Facebook as well. Now, the 1-800 number, I'm not sure whether or not we have that situation resolved as yet. So if you do try that number and you're unable to get through, then try the other numbers as well. 949-6990, 949-8047 as well. Okay, so it is my pleasure also to have in the studio with me this morning none other than Dr. Steve McPhail. And you know, whenever he is in the studio, the conversation goes so very nicely. And I know all of our listening audience are extremely excited when they know that Dr. Steve McPhail is on the show as well. So we expect today to be no different than any other day when Dr. Steve McPhail is on, for it to be a lively conversation, informative as well. So before we go to our commercial break, I just want to say good morning to Dr. Steve McPhail. Welcome back to For the Record, and a happy, healthy, and prosperous 2023 to you and your family, Dr. McPhail.
Good morning, Mr. For the Record, and Happy New Year to you, and Happy New Year to all your listeners in the For the Record land, and those in the Cayman diaspora, and those who listen to you Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. It's good to be back 2023. I am so happy and grateful to my Lord and Savior for allowing me to be back here another year and to see 2023. A lot of people that I know, who I grew up with, a lot of my colleagues, a lot of my friends never live to 2023. Some of them have passed on, and unfortunately, one of those have passed on is now Miss Josie.
Yes.
And I can tell you, I think I can say this without fair contradiction, that there will never be a future Josie again. Those kind of people, those foundational Caymanians are fast leaving us, and they're gone. The other friend of mine was Edward Solomon, who was laid to rest last Saturday, and now Miss Josie and all of these Caymanians. And I would like to just say that whilst we acknowledge the investments of money and give our money away to other people in the form of concessions and consultation fees, we are not rebuilding and training up our people like we did in Ms. Josie's times and other people's times. And making our people able to compete in this nasty cutthroat world. It is not nice to be giving our people a few days' work, a few days of employment cleaning the streets, while other people are living in rich neighborhoods and condos and send their children to the best schools and preparing their children for the future. Okay. And so, Miss Josie, I want to say to your family and friends, my condolence goes out to you. We were good friends, and I'm going to miss people like Miss Josie, And I know that that generation is passing, and there will never be another generation to fulfill all the deeds and the great things that that generation did. And it seems to me that, I'm sad to say this, it seems to me that this is the fading away of what we once knew as Cayman.
Okay. Folks, we have to take a commercial break. Please stay tuned. For the record, with Dr. Steve McField, will continue after this short commercial break.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series. Brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. The Cayman Islands, He hath founded it upon the seas.
Some military action took place off the sea during World War II. On land, very little military action took place despite the installation of the U.S. Naval Base in Georgetown. Although they did have regular rounds of duties, the Americans had opportunities to interact with locals when not on duty. Informal parties were held at Petra's Plantation, Hislop's Ice Cream Parlor, or the tea shop run by Madeline and Myrtle Ebanks. Reverend George Hicks, a Presbyterian minister, was appointed honorary chaplain. As would be, romance blossomed, as well as including the marriage of Lillian Bodden, daughter of Captain Rail and Chief Warrant Officer Jack Howard. However, tensions did occasionally rise, especially if the young Caymanian women were overly friendly to the Americans. On several occasions, fights between the Caymanian men and American military would break out near the town hall, with the most serious incident taking place in December 1943 when 40 of the Caymanian men were home on leave.
Radio Cayman's Historical Vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
Since 1993, Rotary Central has worked diligently each year to provide quality bus shelters to our community. A traveling convenience to our school children, the elderly, young people going to work, guest workers, and visitors using the public bus. We, Rotary Central, help you, our advertisers, make it happen. Your marketing dollar travels a far way. Positioning your message, your product, your services, your presence in over 83 bus shelters. Every dollar you spend, every advert you place helps to build another bus shelter, providing modest comfort for Cayman travelers. Reserve space now on the only billboard medium in the Cayman Islands. Email rotaryshelters@gmail.com. rotaryshelters@gmail.com. The Bus Shelters, a partner in community convenience. Another inspiration program by Rotary Central Cayman Islands.
They say you only live once. I say you only die once, but you live every day. I'm Michael Webster from Cayman Insurance Center, longtime supporter of Radio Cayman. Live your life, my friends. Happiness is in the journey, not the destination. When you're ready, I'm here to support you with the best financial decisions for your family's future. Cayman Insurance Center, protecting you and your family so you can take back your future. I'm Michael Webster, the sure way to protect your family. Call me when you're ready at 925-5433. Don't take chances with your family's future or your valuable assets.
Think life insurance.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
JN Money, money touchdown. Send the money now. Reach wow. You say you need some money. JN Money, I can send it in a hurry. Get through quick when you come collect your cash or use your money card and swipe it in a flash. Send funds to any bank? Yeah. Pay your bills quick? Yeah. Low fees, you know what it? Yeah. JN Money, we a pick, yeah. Send and receive funds at any JN Money location. It's fast, affordable, and convenient. Money touchdown with JN Money. Send funds to any bank, yeah. Pay your bills quick, yeah. Low fees, you know what it, yeah. JN Money, we a pick, yeah.
Call 345-945-2014 for details. Available at JN Money locations across the Cayman Islands.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record in the studio with me, Dr. Steve Macfield. So, Doc, today we're going to have the formal opening of the courts. That will take place at 9:45 this morning at the courthouse outside steps, followed by ceremony inside of the Grand Court 1. Those persons, there will be an inspection of the guard and the opening of the Grand Court. Some of the persons participating will be His Excellency the Governor, the Honorable Premier will be there as well, the Attorney General, ministers, cabinet ministers, top government officials, law organizations heads, legal professionals, and court staff as well. Now, I'm sure that you have been in your long and storied career that you have been involved in these, either as an attorney or probably as a head of one of the organizations as well. Can you tell us about this ceremonial opening of the courts?
Well, yeah.
Why does it take place? How often does it take place and everything?
The court opens the court opens every January, the first week in January or the second week in January. It's always on a Wednesday, first week or in January, Wednesday in January. I have been, I think, attending the court opening since 1977. Before that, when I was clerk of the courts in 1975, 75, I was attending the opening of the Grand Court. And when I became Crown Counsel, I was there at the opening of the Grand Court, and then all of those years, I should say 40 years at the bar, more than 40 years at the bar. So that's more than 40 times, at least 40 times opening of the Grand Court. And where we all get together in the Grand Court. And of course, when I was president of the Bar Association, I got to say words in the Grand Court at the opening. The Attorney General and the bar presidents, the Law Society's president and the bar presidents, and then there was the reply by the Chief Justice, the Chief Justices. But today, the opening of the Grand Court is quite different, because today's a historical day in the judicial history of the Cayman Islands. It's because today is the first time in our history that we had a woman who is now Chief Justice of the Cayman Islands. This had never happened in Cayman in the whole history of the Cayman judicial system, even from when we started the judicial system in the 1800s, 1800s. There was never been a woman Chief Justice. There has never been even a woman Chief Magistrate until at all too. I don't think in those days when you had the custodians and the magistrates and the commissioners as magistrates and so forth.
And she has the distinction of being the first chief magistrate, female chief magistrate.
She was the first woman. She was the first female chief magistrate as well, and she is also the first. Mrs. Ramsey Hale is also the first Chief Justice of the Cayman Islands. I always thought that the first Chief Justice of the Cayman Islands was Sir John Summerfield. And I always thought that he was the father of the Grand Court system, the modern Grand Court system in Cayman Islands, because you have Grand Court judges before them, like Mr. Justice Moody and all of those people, Justice Hosfalt and all those people who were the Grand Court judges. But I believe that Sir John Summerfield was the first modern Grand Court judge, and that followed by other Grand Court judges like Mr. Harry, Judge Harry, Malone, and all of those people.
And of course,
but not only,
of course, her predecessor, Sir Anthony Smellie.
Sir Anthony Smellie, her predecessor, Sir Anthony Smellie too. But you know, it did surprise me, because the Chief Justice is a very brilliant woman, but that brilliancy is not just judicial brilliancy and academic brilliancy. It's also buttressed by good common sense and understanding the society in which you administer justice. That is very, very important. She understands the society, she understands the individuals, she understands the people, she understands the psychology and the social anthropology in the country in which she works. A lot of other people don't understand those things that are relevant to be able to be a great judicial officer.
Okay, so we're going to go to our headline news at, not headline news, 8 o'clock news. Headline news is at 9 o'clock. 8 o'clock news. Folks, when we return, the conversation with Dr. Steve McField will continue. We're going to give you some historical information about the late Janice Josie Solomon as well. So don't change that dial. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back immediately after the 8 o'clock news.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. And studio time now by Foster's is 7:59.
At Foster's, you'll always find the biggest specials on the products you love.
Just like Vita Coco Coconut Water 1 liter, only $4.19, save $2. 4-pack Ensure Max Protein Nutrition Shake, $9.99, save $4.90. And Aunt Jackie's Hair Care 15 ounce, only $5.79, save $3.
You'll find even more great specials in-store or online with Foster's Go. Foster's, better prices because we care.
Prices good until 11th January 2023.
The voice of the Cayman Islands.
89.9 FM in Grand Cayman and 93.9 FM in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman.
Silver wings shining in the sunlight.
Radio Cayman.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
For today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
With your latest news, I'm Carsley Fuller. BBC News is reporting that all U.S. domestic flights were halted until 9 a.m. Eastern today due to a glitch with the National Control System's Notice to Air mission system. The Federal Aviation Administration says it's working to restore the system that alerts pilots to potential hazards on flight routes following an outage across the country. Radio Cayman has reached out to the relevant authorities in Cayman to find out how that's affecting passengers here. Make sure to keep it locked. Operation Winter Guardian has come to an end. As Radio Cayman's Shanda Gallego reports, the operation focused on providing an increased police presence through high-visibility mobile and foot patrols in both commercial and residential areas, along with spontaneous vehicle checkpoints, both for traffic enforcement and education.
Leading up to the month of December, there had been 13 collisions which resulted in the deaths of 14 individuals. There was also an increase in the use of firearms to commit crimes, with an emphasis on robberies. These matters were all taken into consideration for the execution of Operation Winter Guardian. Police say at the end of the operation on Monday, January 2nd, officers had made 35 arrests in relation to driving under the influence of alcohol. There were 253 reports of vehicle collisions, one of which was a fatal collision. Over 180 incidents were recorded that related to speeding. Since the start of the operation, police report there have been 6 persons arrested and charged for various offenses such as firearms, drugs, and robbery. Officers executed 5 search warrants at home addresses in relation to the spate of robberies and other firearm-enabled crimes that had been occurring. There have been no incidents of robbery on Grand Cayman since December 14th. Police say additionally there were 6 other searches in relation to drugs and other criminal activities. 1 firearm was recovered along with several rounds of ammunition, as well as several vehicles, clothing, and masks recovered for forensic examination. Police say there were a number of reported incidents of serious assaults that took place during the month of December, and from those, several arrests have been made, and 1 man has been charged with attempted murder and possession of an unlicensed firearm. Shanda Gallego, Radio Cayman News.
If you operate a food business, you're encouraged to register now for the Department of Environmental Health's food hygiene workshops, as the DEH requires all personnel handling food to be certified. DEH Director Richard Sims.
In 2022, a total of 50 training sessions were conducted, providing training to 1,165 participants. This year, we will continue to train food handlers as part of our food safety and surveillance program.
The registration fee is $15 per person. For more information, you can email dehcustomerservice@gov.ky. And their roof is covered in solar panels to generate a significant amount of electricity and reduce their carbon footprint. They practice water reuse to save water and heating energy. But now the Cayman Islands Brewery is going a step further, swapping their current 6-pack photo-degradable plastic rings, which break down naturally in direct sunlight, to something even more earth-friendly: cardboard.
We're currently looking at a couple suppliers that have the technology to maintain this, because once we do it, we want to make sure that, especially with the island and supply issues, that we can make sure that we carry on with this instead of having to go back to plastic. So we're spending a lot of man hours, a lot of research, R&D to figure out which is going to be the best and most suitable company to go with. And from there, as soon as that happens, we'll be transferring from our plastic 6-pack rings over to cardboard and more sustainable options.
That's Brad Kuttner, Sales and Marketing Coordinator for the CI Brewery. Now with a check of international news, here's the BBC, which will take us out of the newscast. I'm Karsley Fuller.
BBC News, with Jerry Smith. There have been major delays in air traffic across the United States after a computer outage at the Federal Aviation Authority. More than 1,000 flights have been affected so far. Russia's defense ministry has said fighting is continuing in Soledar in eastern Ukraine. Earlier, the head of the Russian mercenary group Wagner said his forces had taken the town. Uganda has again declared itself Ebola-free. The latest 4-month outbreak left more than 50 people dead. The head of Turkey's Medical Association has been jailed for more than 2 years. Dr. Şebnem Korur-Fincancı called for an inquiry into the army's alleged use of chemical weapons against Iraqi Kurds. BBC News.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com. Did you know that ValueMed Pharmacy has a free online prescription service? Managing your health and medical requirements has never been easier with ValueMed. Simply visit value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com and click the Refill Prescriptions tab on our website. Fill in the information for new prescriptions or refills and choose your preferred pickup location. ValueMed on Walkers Road or Town. Then bring in your original prescription from your doctor when picking up. There's no need to stand in line and wait for your prescription. Save time and pick up prescriptions at your convenience by visiting value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman for the latest in news and information.
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
Are you a Caymanian student graduating or graduated from a government high school and hoping to pursue undergraduate studies at any of the world's most prestigious universities with government financial support? Then you may qualify for the new Government High Schools Scholar Award, which provides 2 students with up to $100,000 in annual tuition funding. Visit the Ministry of Education website at www.gov.ky/education to learn more about this latest opportunity to reach your full potential.
Pleasant good morning. Let's take a look at the latest weather report. Current temperature is 78 degrees. Relative humidity is 74%. The barometric pressure 30.04 inches and rising. The wind is out of the northeast at 8 knots. Overnight low temperature was 77 degrees. Synopsis indicate moderate winds and seas expected over the Cayman area as a high-pressure system moves over the southeast United States. Radar images show isolated showers in and around the Cayman area moving towards the west. Now the forecast for today calling for mainly fair skies with a 20% chance of showers, and temperatures will rise to the mid-80s. Winds will be northeasterly 10 to 15 knots, and seas will be moderate with wave heights of 3 to 5 feet. Tonight, partly cloudy skies with a 20% chance of showers, and temperatures dipping to the low 70s tonight. Winds will be northeasterly 10 to 15 knots, and seas will be moderate with wave heights of 2 to 4 feet. Presently at a low tide, and the next high tide will be this afternoon at 12:19. Low tide again tonight at 6 minutes after 7. The sun will set this evening at 4 minutes past 6 and will rise tomorrow morning at 2 minutes after 7. And the outlook is calling for similar weather conditions through Thursday morning. Light northerly winds and slight seas can be expected through Friday evening ahead of a cold front that is expected to move north of the Cayman area. That's the very latest on your weather report.
Tune in every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. for Radio Cayman's Midday Newscast. Radio Cayman, the People's Station, your trusted official source for the latest news. The 12 p.m. news is proudly brought to you by Health City Cayman Islands. World-class healthcare within your reach. The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
Good morning. Let's take a look at traffic. Busy traffic coming from the east on Crew Road and Linford Pearson Highway, and coming off of Bobby Thompson Way as well. Looking towards Owen Roberts Drive, traffic is flowing moderately in both directions, as well as on Godfrey Dixon Way and Eastern Avenue. From the West Bay 4-way stop, traffic is flowing pretty good. And Crew Road heading to Georgetown, traffic is busy. Eastbound traffic on Crew Road is moving along moderately. And that's the very latest on your traffic. If you see any accidents or incidents on Cayman's roads, make sure you give us a call here at Radio Cayman, 949-6-990. Have a good morning and drive safe.
When you're craving something big, something tasty that gives you that lip-smacking satisfaction, something that hits the spot, there is nothing better than a footlong from Subway.
It's pretty tasty.
Filling and full of flavor. Try our new sweet onion steak teriyaki with a twist, or the classic chicken teriyaki. Top it with green pepper, onions, cheese, and that sweet onion teriyaki sauce, all piled on your favorite artisanal bread. Satisfy that craving with a footlong from Subway.
Fresh, delicious, tasty, meaty.
Let's make it a meal with a drink, chips, and cookies. There is nothing better than a footlong from Subway.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
Healthcare Pharmacy, caring about your health for the past 25 years. Radio Cayman's premier health show.
Alzheimer's and dementia, are they the same disorder?
Yeah, I think that's a very important question.
For the Health of It with Tara Bush.
For the Health of It with Tara Bush.
Is heard on Saturdays at 9:30 a.m. and on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Brought to you by Healthcare Pharmacy in Grand Harbor, where they care about your health. Transfer and refill your prescription online. Visit healthcarepharmacy.ky or call 947-8900. Healthcare Pharmacy, now with a new and second location in Governor's Square. The new Healthcare Pharmacy in Governor's Square is open Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Healthcare Pharmacy, where they care about your health.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, we have Dr. Steve Markfield, this morning, and we're going to share some information with you about the to share with you some information on the late Janice, also known as Josie, Nurse Josie Solomon, as well. And while we don't really want to overshadow anything that will take place, as far as her funeral and her obituary and everything else, but I'm sure that there are those of you out there who will not be able to attend, who would not have that information. Not only that, but our Cayman icons, we have to ensure that they get the recognition that they deserve, not only in their passing, but certainly the recognition that they received during their lifetime and their life work, as well. As many of you will consider and know that the medical profession, again, is a noble profession. So I'm going to start off by the February the 24th of February, 1966. The Tradewinds newspaper, Mr. Willie Wood was the reporter for the District of Bordentown, and I must say that, Mr. Willie Wood, he was certainly very passionate about his district. As a matter of fact, I think there was one article once when he spoke, he wrote about the people who lived longer in each district and pointed out that Bordentown, the people in Bordentown lived longer than in any other district. But he was extremely passionate about the district of Bordentown, Mr. Willie Wood. So in this Bordentown News on the 24th of February, 1966, Mr. Willie Wood wrote, says, after 18 months of hard study at the Victoria Jubilee Hospital, as a maternity nurse, Miss Janice Solomon, and while we know her as Josie, while we know her as Miss Josie, pet name, her proper name, Miss Janice Solomon of Bordentown, returned home on February the 14th. She is now a state-certified midwife, and it goes on to say that among the 22 graduates, she came in first in the Jamaica State Examination and third in the hospital examination. Goes on to say that she also won second prize for the best case history. And then Mr. Willie Wood says, we would like to congratulate her on this achievement and would like to see many more of our young girls with those certificates of competency, as we still have to employ quite a number from overseas as well. So again, not to distract from Miss Josie's accomplishments, but again, you see, in 1966, Mr. Willie Wood had concerns, foresight, in saying we still have to employ quite a number of persons from overseas, encouraging more Caymanians to get their education, get certified, and come back to work. We're still facing the same situation now. Of course, things have become more complicated. Yep, same.
My God, it's multiplied a million times.
Yes,
since that.
Yes.
Since since
this is
Mr. Miller Wood wrote those words.
57 years ago.
That's right.
57 years ago. And we have some more that we're going to share, with them as well about the shortage, of housing in the Cayman Islands in the 1980s. That was spoken about as well. So, Miss Josie, Nurse Josie, or Janice Solomon, quite an achiever, right? So she came first in the Jamaica State examination and third in the hospital examinations, and she won second prize for the best case history. Then she returned to Cayman on the 14th of February 1966 and then took up her employment with the Cayman Islands government. Now, I'm not sure whether or not she was working at the hospital before she went overseas to do her midwifery course. This was in 1966, and of course the Trade Winds newspaper began its existence 1964, 1965. So I couldn't find any article that spoke about her going overseas. Like, we found things about Mr. Hartwell Wood, Mr. Roy Borden, Mr. Gilbert McLean, Miss Pearson from East End. Trying to remember her first name. I'll get that. That'll come soon. But and then articles, with Alva Suku, Senior, who would come to the Cayman Islands and spend summers with Mr. Roy and his colleagues from Micro Training College as well. But I haven't come across anything that pointed out to when she actually went there, because those days it was a huge achievement, and when people traveled overseas to study, it was highlighted in our newspaper. Not only to study, you talk about people knowing your business today, about you traveling. In those days, Miss Francis and everybody was on there, and everyone who arrived on the island, they said this person went to Jamaica for medical attention, this person went to Miami to visit family members or whatever. So that was it. But Doc, you're going to share some information with us now on 1983 Nurses Week.
Before I share that information, there's perhaps they were not, the emphasis was not on women's achievement in those days so much as it became later on.
Mm-hmm.
But there is no doubt that some of the best scholars and the best achievers came from Bodden Town. Bodden Town was the capital, was the place where the first private school was established in the islands, and I can remember a lot of the great educationists that came from Bodden Town, like Clifton Hunter, Har McCoy, and all of those great people. One of the first women national hero, Miss Evelyn Wood, and Anton Bodden, and all of those people, and Miss Josie, and my own family. We originated from Bodden Town, and our emphasis was on education from the beginning. Teacher McField's wife, Mrs. McCoy,
yes. Miss Flores.
Florence McCoy, and her brother, I call him Mr. McCoy. He was a great engineer, and so there's no
Mr.
Neville McCoy.
Yes.
There's no doubt that Bodden Town has produced some of the great people like Jim Bodden, the great politicians of the day, Jim and Haig Bodden, and A.J. Miller, and all of those people. So, and I can go on and on. Biddle, Bodle, and Scopel, and all of those great people, and our future and our modern Mr. Roy Bodden, some of the great people, and Gilbert McLean, and
Madam Speaker,
Madam Speaker,
Mary Lawrence,
Madam Speaker.
I'm looking on here, right? And in this same newspaper, she wrote a poem composed by her, actually, Man Bills. And if I get an opportunity, I will share that as well.
And Hartwell Wood
was
a great one of the great teachers in Bodden Town.
Mr. Clifton Hunter, and then his sons as well.
The Hunter and his sons and all of those people.
The Jacksons.
So Miss Josie Solomon was the product of a great generation of Caymanians that we will never ever see again, and I don't think that they will ever be able to people in this modern Cayman will never be able to say that they would even be in competition with them, even if you brought them back. So let me just read about what the Northwestern June 1983 said about Miss Josie after she had won the Nurse of the Year and had received her trophy and the flowers. And he went to say, and says, the Cayman Islands' new Nurse of the Year is Miss Janice Josie Solomon, who was crowned Miss Nurse at a social evening and danced to mark the end of Nurses Week, May the 13th. Miss Josie was crowned by the outgoing Mrs. Nurses, Miss Ivy Collins, and received prizes including a return ticket to Miami from Cayman Airways, a $100 check from the Cayman Islands Nurses Association, CINO, a trophy from the Northwestern Company, and a meal of two at the Lobster Pot. Runners-up were nurses Mrs. Shirley Dinspell and Miss Sharon Jackson, who received prizes of vouchers. The finalists had to undergo a rigorous screening before the big night. As the contest is primarily a professional one, they also had to answer questions on health-related issues. The ceremony at the Cayman Islands Hotel was the climax of a week of activities run by CINO to celebrate Florence Nightingale Day, May the 12th, and raise funds. CINO President Miss Jean Pereira said they hope to raise about $3,000 to help send 3 representatives to conferences in London later this year on psychiatry, care of the elderly, and community care. Nurses Week began on Saturday, May the 7th, with a sponsored walk from West Bay to Georgetown by 6 volunteers. On Sunday, there was a special service at St. Ignatius Roman Catholic Church in Georgetown, followed by coffee. On Monday, there was a tea party for all patients at Georgetown Hospital, and guests included His Excellency the Governor, Mr. Peter Lloyd, and Mrs. Lloyd, and residents from the Pines Retirement Home. An open house at the hospital the following day was not quite so well attended. The only person to visit was the financial secretary, the Honorable Tom Jefferson. Miss Pereira laughed. It was well attended by one, but he said he enjoyed it immensely. Thursday's event concentrated on community care. Coincidentally, Miss Josie's particular field, when all hospital-based nurses, both on and off duty, gave their time to visit elderly shut-ins, to provide a meal, cleaning, or just a chat. Restaurants in Georgetown, West Bay, and Bodden Town helped out with the meals. One other event was held outside the week, a variety show at the Cayman Islands High School on May the 25th. And I would like to just remind people that out of this family also comes Dr. Darla Solomon.
Yes.
Who is Joseph's brother, I think, Darla Solomon.
Okay.
Darla, one of Joseph's brothers, Darla Solomon, who passed on. Mm-hmm. And out of that family comes also Dr. Darla Solomon, the famous surgeon, Caymanian surgeon. And so here we are, losing the generation that actually laid the foundation for modern Cayman, losing them daily, one by one. And there's doesn't seem to me that there's any replacement for them, because it seems to me that our people in these days have they have very little personal principles, and they do not seem to have any national pride, and that is the thing that that generation carried along with them. And then when you hear what Mr. Wheeler Wood said about Joseph's stewardship,
yes,
in her studies in Jamaica. Not only did she go to Jamaica and did well there too, but she also excelled in her own environment and at home. And so, my condolences again goes out to the family, to the Solomon family, and I cannot say how much I admired Miss Josie. We were good friends, and I always learn a lot from Miss Josie. And it's a great family, and I don't know if there will be any other nurses that replace her. In her later years, she became the what's it called? The outstanding public health nurse.
Yes,
she was the public health nurse in her later years. And in fact, before my son became a surgeon, he was also in that department with Miss Josie, and she always told me about how much she liked Darren, and I miss Miss Josie. I don't know if Miss Mary Lawrence, Madam Speaker, and the other people, how they're going to replace her at the Miss Josie home. You know, the home, Miss Josie's, the home that was named after her in Borden Town.
Yes.
The historical home that was named after her in Borden Town. I don't know how they are going to replace such an icon. Roy Borden was right when he said she was an icon. She was an icon's icon. And she was an outstanding Borden Towner, and certainly she was not a person of unfettered greed, and unfettered greed.
Yeah,
and,
she certainly was devoted to the profession and gave it her all as well. Yes.
And unbridled conscience. She was not a person of unfettered greed and unbridled conscience. She had a great conscience about her, and everything her was fettered. She was a outstanding woman, outstanding personality. She had great principles.
Yep.
And that seem to be non-existent in today's world.
Okay. Folks, we're going to take a commercial break. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
J and Money touching down again. Now you can send your US dollars at any location on island, including the BRAC. It's easy. Just walk with your US dollars. No need to convert to CI. This is another convenient service available at J and Money. They always find a way to make it easier and hassle-free. So remember, when you need to send your money and you only have US dollars, don't ever think of what to do. Just head straight to any J&M Money location and send your money the fast, convenient, and affordable J&M Money. J&M Money, touching down again. J&M Money, ranga to la friend.
So much happening, so fast, too much. It is hard for me to follow my healthcare instructions. The private counseling with West Bay Pharmacy literally saved my life.
At West Bay Pharmacy, we know how complex medications can be. Our pharmacists are delighted to offer you personalized one-on-one healthcare counseling, free medication review, therapeutic callbacks, and we will liaise with your physician to ensure you receive the best in quality medical care.
Quality of life has a whole new meaning with the right pharmacy to support you. Thank you, West Bay Pharmacy.
West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. Convenient quality care is just around the corner. Now you can WhatsApp your West Bay Pharmacy prescriptions to 516-0777.
Radio Cayman News.
A wanted man considered armed and dangerous is in custody tonight.
Police described him as violent, dangerous, and potentially armed.
The curriculum experiences offered to students were excellent.
The national airline has to ground its flights from Little Cayman after issues with the fire truck there.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. It is my pleasure to have in the studio with me this morning Dr. Steve McPhail. We have been given tribute to Nurse Josie Solomon. We're going to switch gears a little bit and talk about some other issues facing the Cayman Islands as well. Before we go there, one of our listeners has written in, and I want to share this with you and see what we can do. Okay, bear with me there 1 second, and I will have it for you. This person says, if we could request that whatever entity is responsible for installing pedestrian crossings, that they endeavor to place one across from Foster's Airport for crossing to the post office. Good point. As well as to the airport park. The person says that they are a senior who almost got knocked down on 2 occasions when crossing after shopping and having to go to the airport post office to conduct business there. Doc, having served as the chairman of the National Roads Authority, I believe at one point in time, were you the chair?
No, I was a director.
A director of the National Roads Authority. We see more and more of our roads being built. Some efforts are being made to make the roads as user-friendly, pedestrian-friendly as possible, but yet more emphasis is being placed on the movement of motorized vehicles as opposed to pedestrians. And there was some place I was looking at something the other day, but crosswalks, for instance. Now, this person speaks of a lack of crosswalks. There are some that, to me, I find to be extremely dangerous. One, for instance, and maybe it can't be helped, but at the Cayman National Roundabout, and you're going north towards Compass Way, that walkway that is right there as soon as you make the turn. Now, while they do have the flashing lights and everything else,
the flashing light
if you're driving at 30, 35 miles an hour and you bend that corner and that person doesn't press that light, or for some reason you don't see it, everything just happens so quickly. The other thing that I find to be absent also is that the grids that you put in crosswalks to remind drivers that they should not be within that grid whenever the lights change. So if you see, because drivers have a tendency to be right up behind the other driver. If the traffic is, when they're in the intersection, they want to ensure that they catch that particular light, not having to wait for the next light, so they place themselves right in the intersection. So if the light changes and traffic is then moving in to go across, their drivers are unable to do so because they're blocking the crosswalk. So those grid areas is one thing. And like this writer has said, we need to have more crosswalks to accommodate pedestrians as well. And while I'm on it, if anyone is listening in from the National Roads Authority, the countryside area is becoming extremely dangerous. We know that there were concerns coming out from one of the strip malls, the shopping areas there, to go east. And there was some push for people to be able to go to turn to the west as well. That was resisted by the National Roads Authority, and you can only come out of that strip mall and go east. The other dangerous point after that is the vehicles, especially those Domino pizza drivers who are making that right turn to go in to the little back road there that comes from Pedro Castle.
Those that are coming from the west end.
They literally are making a 180-degree turn to go back in that area. There should be a no right turn signage there to force all of those drivers, including customers, to go around from the other side where the tall tree is to come in there. Drivers should not be allowed to make a right turn there because it is literally a 180-degree turn that they're making. Doc, over to you.
Well, I understand your concerns, but I think that it's not only left for the NRA. The NRA really is concerned with building roads and highways and repairing roads and highways. It's a lack of urban development planning. When people talk about planning here in Cayman, they talk about house plans, condominium plans, hotel plans, and so forth. There has to be, Cayman is Georgetown. The whole area is becoming a small city, small town. There is no urban planning department. It has to be an urban planning department that plans the city as a friendly place to work and to live. And that means that you have all of these things as bypasses and walkways and stuff are planned through the city through the urbanization planning in the city, through the city architects and so forth. It's not left to the NRA. The NRA is the one who you call in to do the work after you have planned what you want to do. And so just let me and then you have to have enforcement. You just can't put the sign up and walk away and leave it and expect people, human beings, to obey the sign. And you can't tell people, oh well, don't drink and drive. Put up a sign. That's not going to help. You have to enforce the fact that people should not drink and drive, and people should not walk across the street haphazardly. Let me just give you an example of what happened to me when I went to Canada, and I didn't understand what it meant. And when you want to pass a street in Canada, when you want to pass walking, you don't just jump, you don't just push the light and walk in and walk wrong. It says stop, look, and point. On the road is written stop, look, and point. You stop, you look, and you point that you want to cross the road. I was coming from the library downtown Vancouver, and I wanted to go across the street to the other street in the parking lot where my car was parked. And I saw a policeman right on the corner where I wanted to pass. And I didn't pass on the corner. I went up little bays in the streets and passed in the middle of the street. Right. And I heard a police motorcycle and it came down the street. And it stopped me as I got across the street. And he said, "Did you know what you just did?" And I said, "No, sir." He said, "You just jaywalked."
Jaywalking, yep.
And I said, "Well, what is that, sir?" I was pretending to be dumb. I would say, "What is that, sir?" He said, "Jaywalking is when you do not use the walkway, and you do not look and point to cross the street." And I said, "I didn't know that, sir." And he says, "Well, where are you from?" I says, "The place I'm from in the West Indies, we don't have street lights and we don't have walkways, sir." He said, "Well, do they have cars there?" And I said, "No, sir." I said, they just have donkeys and horses and buggies." And he said, "Well, okay, I excuse you for now," but he said the fine is supposed to be $10. The ticket is $10. And he said, as I walked off, he said, "By the way, do you drive?" And I said, "No, sir." "No, sir." And I walked across the street and I could see him when I turned it and look over my shoulder, he was laughing at me on his motorcycle. And I was saying, I beat him.
Yes.
But a big rain came down.
So you had to take refuge in the car.
I couldn't take refuge in the car because he would have known I was robbing. I had to stand there and get wet in the rain. And then I knew. And then I learned my lesson. But we are so backward in doing things what ordinary people find ordinary in other cities and around the world. It's not the NRA. It is having a city council. It is having urban planning, and that is one of the reasons why we need Section 119.
Mm-hmm.
You know what that is?
Yes.
We need those community organizations,
advisory district
councils
yes.
to advise on these things.
Yep.
We don't have them, and we'll never have them as long as the thinking is mediocre and parochial.
Okay, we have a caller, but we want to give that caller enough time, so we're going to go to the commercial break first. Just before I go there, I just Googled jaywalking, right?
Yes.
And it says here in 1917, jay was a common slang word for hick, or most kindly, a person inexperienced in the ways of the big city.
Yes, yes.
Consequently, a jaywalker was someone who was clueless about those newfangled traffic signals telling people when they could and could not walk.
But
so you played that on him.
That's what I played on the policeman. I played on the Canadian policeman, and it backfired on me because I got wet in the rain with all my books from the library. I got wet in the rain because I couldn't go to open my car because he was looking toward the parking lot where I was walking to see if I was going to get into a car, and because he knew if I could drive, then I should have known the rules of the road.
Okay, let's take the commercial break quickly, and we're going to take our caller who's waiting on the line. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
At Doctor's Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctor's Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
At Kirk's Home Center, we can make your life much better. We got it all together. We got a great deal in store for you. From cookware to stereos, from power tools to plumbing supplies. Yeah, we got the best goods with the best price and a service to make you smile. Kirk's Home Center, we got a great deal in store for you.
Tune in every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. for Radio Cayman's Midday Newscast. Radio Cayman, the people's station. Your trusted official source for the latest news. The 12 p.m. news is proudly brought to you by Health City Cayman Islands. World-class healthcare within your reach.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. And as promised, we're going straight to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, OC.
Good morning. How art thou?
I'm good, and I'm happy that you got the dog on there. Not sure how you find him. Because lately, I've been having a hard time catching up with him. This gentleman being 87 years old, and this man is outdoing me. I can't find him. Go look for him at the office, at the airport. I go look for him on the highway. I go look for him at the L. Thompson. I go look for him. Some last thing I heard now.
That's what keeps him young. That's what keeps him young.
He was seeing a stinger sit on some yard with a bunch of pretty women.
What?
I had to defend himself on that one. I think it was the helicopter that spotted him.
Yeah.
So
age is just a number, my friend.
My feel.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know if I'm ready for this one, but yeah, OC ready for this because he for many years championed the immigration department. Or see, I'm hearing that, I should ask first, police record. Most application recommends you submit a police record.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hearing now that the admin that for some reason approves temporary work permit, which I don't think should be. I think if you got a board, all applications should go to the board. But they are overlooking.
But historically, the chief immigration officer in all of the legislation was authorized, or someone he or she designated, authorized to issue temporary work permits.
Okay, now let's have some changes, because I understand that admin are looking a police record that has some sort of discrepancy and saying that, the crime were not committed in Cayman. That in that case, they don't ask for a police record. And another thing with the admin approving temporary, tell me in your right senses, why would you approve a temporary 3-month work permit for somebody who takes almost 2.5 months to get here and get their papers all sorted once the permit have been approved?
Yep, that's an excellent point.
We should not be approving temporary work permit for somebody who's coming here to do janitorial work, which seems to be the thing they use. By the time the individual arrives on island, they only have 3 or 4 weeks left in their temporary work permit that have been approved by admin. And then the agency that bring them here now no longer have anything to do with them. They don't submit now a grant, because that would jam them up with having too many employees, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what they do, they're now on their own to go around and look work, and then they can apply again for another person, because now they're no longer attached to the 3-month work permit person that they brought in the first place. So I think that approval ability by admin should be taken away and directly go to the board. The board should be the one who approving work permits. Another thing.
If I could interrupt you for a second and say that what we really need to get back to as far as temporary work permits are concerned, that they should be for genuine temporary employment, which means that the person is coming to perform a specific task and will leave at the end of that task.
Right.
And it should be for for a defined period of time. At one point in time, it was for 30 days. Then we moved on that it was for 30 days, and it could be extended for an additional 60 days for a total of 90 days. And I believe now it's up to 6 months.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What kind of temporary work that they doing? They got to take them 6 months to see.
Well, just let me give you an example of what a temporary work looked like when I was doing immigration work in the early days. A temporary work permit was like when people came in to put in generators for CUC, to install generators for CUC. Not only did they needed a trade and business license sometimes, a temporary LCCL to do that, but they also need a temporary work permit. That would be a temporary work permit. A temporary work permit is when you come in to do a specific job, as the Mr. For the Record says, and then you're leaving within weeks or the months that you take to do the work, and you leave. A temporary work permit was never meant to be extended into a grant. That was not the intention of the legislation as I read it. I have to be so careful now what I say on the radio because I am chairman of the permanent residents and of the status and permanent residents board. So appeals would come down from that system to us. So I have to be so careful. But I just want to say how I read the legislation. A temporary work permit was never meant to be converted into a grant. That's how I read it.
It should not be, because it specifically says temporarily. You got a temporary work permit, you do the job and you leave. You can only get a temporary if you're some sort of specialist. That's how it should be. And I should make you know, Dr. McField, that it's out there on the street that it all depends on you and your committee, the review that you're doing with your committee, which I don't know if you got the right people on your committee. I don't know who they is, but I'm not too sure they might be on the same level that you're on. But the government, I understand, is depending on you and the results or the report that you're going to give them to change this whole immigration policy of rollover policy and the likes. So it depends on now. I don't know. I might be holding your foot to the fire when things don't happen, because I'll say it depends. They say it depending on you. So and your report. So make sure now your report is the right one.
I am chairman of the Point System Review Committee. The terms of reference is that at the end of the day, they committed that I chair is supposed to turn over a report to the government. We were supposed to have finished that at the end of December last, but because of circumstances, we were not able to do that. So we had to write to ask them for a continuation, so that we asked for continuation until about April to finish it. It does not depend on me. The report that the committee would turn over, which I chair, will go to cabinet. It's up to the ministers and cabinet. It's up to the elected members either to accept the reports or to reject the reports. We will do, and I will do my best to be fair to everyone, with an emphasis on the protection of the Caymanian people and the Caymanian people's rights. The Caymanian people's rights. That will be the emphasis, the foundation in which I will be, me personally, will be moving from or acting from. If the ministries or the ministers or the cabinet does not want to do that, that's their business. Then the Caymanian people can hold them accountable. But don't hold me accountable, because I'm going to write in a report. I am not the one who making the decisions, eventually making the decisions on the matter.
Will we have, us, the public, will we have access to the report that you submit?
I don't know. I don't know
what your suggestions were, and if they follow the report, because I'm not sure, Dr. McField, just like I mentioned on the radio before, about getting these people to do these studies when we elect you to make the decisions for us. So if they're going to get you...
I am not elected.
If they're going to get you to do a report, and then they don't follow they must have got some level of confidence in you that they put you to chair the committee. So if they're not going to go by what you recommend, what the purpose of getting you to do it? Is that just to throw the blame somewhere?
That's not new. That's not new.
There are many reports that have never seen the light of day.
There are many reports that have never seen the light of day. That somewhere.
So what the purpose of getting you to waste your time doing a report when you could be off somewhere else?
Somewhere. I made report when I was working with the government, and I made reports when on my missions to the UN Decolonization Committee. And all of those places, I wrote reports. Have you ever heard anyone say that they received them? I presented them. I presented them to cabinet, but have you ever heard anyone say anything about them?
No.
Oh, well.
I never heard anything. What you need to do is try to get them back. You must make our copies and read them out on the.
I have my own copies.
What you need to do.
I have my own copies, but they're not mine. It's not. They're not personal and belong to me.
Well, is they secret documents? Is they classified?
I don't know. You ask them.
Well, let's find out if they're classified. If not, we're going to read them and we're going to read them when they're getting close to election.
Sure.
Once he has done the report, it becomes, like Doc is saying, it's a property of the government of the Cayman Islands.
That's right.
Yeah,
not his.
You never heard about the leak?
Lord Graham.
Put on windshield.
Lord Graham. Just let me. There's another subject that dear to my heart, and that is the subject of border control. I read on the media a few days ago about the border control asking people to call 911 when Cubans come ashore. I was appalled. Today and age, you mean to tell me that we still do not know who comes and goes from our country? In this day and age, people can penetrate our borders, and we do not know who they are, where they come from, and what they're doing here. And we still have nothing to detect their illegal entry, and we have to rely on ordinary local people calling 911. That, to me, is the most asinine thing that I have ever heard lately. You know, criminals and terrorists can come and go in this country, and people really don't know. Let me put the scenario to you. Suppose a terrorist comes into this country, one of those criminals come into this country from anywhere, and have a revenge against, say, a cruise ship, and take one of those shoulder-to-shoulder missile and fire a missile at one of those cruise ships and kill 7,000 people in our harbor. You know what would happen to us around the world? Can you imagine that in this little small island, people can come and go, and we do not know who they are? Let me tell you something. Any craft that comes within our jurisdiction, within our waters, we should know. And any toilet that flush in our jurisdiction, we should know when it flushed and who flushed it. It is ridiculous that I have to go to sleep in my house in Northward, and I could be killed in my house, and no one in Cayman would know who did it because they would come and go, and we would not know. That is so precious to us, more importantly than the subject that you have raised today. Should be something that should not be swept under the carpet. And Eric Mannion, who has national pride, should be worried about that fact. As much money we spend on law enforcement, and they have to call to tell them that some Cubans came in and landed on our shore, and they do not know. That is something that you should ask your colleagues to discuss.
But Dr. McField, don't they have sophisticated watercrafts? They got two choppers in the air. I don't understand how the chopper can be in the air. We don't need too expensive helicopters in this place.
No, but we have it. What I'm saying, Doc, we already have it. So why are they penetrating our borders then, like you say, but yet we got these sophisticated equipment to patrol the border? But the helicopter can be in the air in 5 minutes if one of the guys on the back road by my mother go in the environmental area where they're not supposed to get a count in a protected area. But yet, a Cuban boat can come in East End with 15 Cubans. They're already on shore, and people are giving them, like reviving them with drinks and stuff like that. And nobody knows but the people that was there on the site. No authority know until somebody in East End or Cayman Brac call the authorities to tell them that there's a bunch of these people. I know they never came in really fast because their craft are not equipped to go really fast. So they must have took a couple of hours before they reached shore after they got into our waters. So,
and Lord Graham, not only are they coming in illegally, criminal, but they come in legally across our borders too. Mm-hmm. How the hell can a person who's wanted for murder in a country only 100 and something miles from us can come to our border and can stay in our country? Well, how is that possible?
We can talk about that because I don't think that one we can blame solely on the authorities, and we'll talk about that later. Lord Graham, we have to go to our headline news at 8 o'clock. I want to thank you very much, but please feel free to call back if you so wish. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back immediately after headline news.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
During December, police Operation Winter Guardian, a holiday safety campaign, saw 35 arrests in relation to driving under the influence of alcohol. There were 253 reports of vehicle collisions, one of which was a fatal. Over 180 incidents were recorded that related to speeding. All domestic flights in the United States have been grounded due to a technical glitch with flight control systems. The Federal Aviation Administration says there is a problem with the system that alerts pilots to potential hazards. All flights currently in the air are safe to land, though, it says. In the meantime, all flights due for takeoff are grounded until at least 9 a.m. this hour today. The White House says U.S. President Joe Biden has been briefed and that there was no evidence of a cyber attack. And multi-million-dollar beach homes battered by winds, cars swallowed up by sinkholes, and over a dozen people killed. After weeks of extreme storms, many Californians are wondering when it will end. The state's famously sunny southern coast has been hit by storm after storm since the December holidays, eroding roads, felling trees, and causing landslides. As of Tuesday evening, at least 17 people had died in weather-related incidents since the storms began. Those are your headlines. I'm Karsley Fuller.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio K-Man on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio K-Man app or log on to our website, radiokman.gov.ky.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio K-Man.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We're trying to, we're going to be linking up with the Honorable Mayor Lawrence, Madam Speaker, to get her to talk about the late Janice Josie Solomon as well. So we're working on linking up with her. Ms. Susan, you haven't, we're going to keep trying to reach her. Meanwhile, Doc, so let's talk about the scenario, because I've seen a lot on social media about this particular individual who was wanted in Jamaica for murder or possibly murder. Okay, we do have Madam Speaker there. Okay, we'll come back to that later. Good morning, Madam Speaker. Welcome to For the Record. Happy New Year to you and to your family as well.
Good morning, sir. It's kind of nice to hear your voice. I haven't heard it in such a long time.
I know, 3 whole weeks.
Well, I don't really listen to the radio that much, so it's been quite a long time since I heard your voice.
Okay, yeah. I have been sharing, Dr. McPhail and I sharing information about the late Janice Josie Solomon. I shared with our listeners and viewers an article by Mr. Willie Wood on the 24th of February 1966. Nurse Josie had returned on the 14th of February 1966 from Jamaica doing her course, and pointed out that she came in first in one category and third in another category, as well. She had done well. And then I also shared a Northwester article, and of course we know that you also worked for the Northwester when she was Nurse of the Year in 1983 in Cayman as well. But we know that you are the resident historian in Bordentown, between you and Mr. Roy Borden, the two surviving resident historians of Bordentown. So there is no person who's who's eminently qualified to talk about Miss Josie and your interaction with her, and we want to give you that opportunity this morning, Madam Speaker.
Well, after that kind of an introduction, I think I better turn off the radio and go home. Well, Nurse Josie, as we called her, grew up the hard way in Bordentown. She was the oldest in a family of 5, and she went to work at a very, very young age to help support the family.
Mm-hmm.
And she was from the very beginning, she was keen on an education, and she was keen on being a nurse. And so she went to work for Mr. Clifton Hunter, who was the education officer here at one point, in his home, just doing ordinary, household work. And She did her Jamaican local first year, and she did the second year. And, you know, she's struggling to go through all of this and work and all the rest of it. But she kept insisting she wanted to be a nurse. And so when it came time to take the Jamaica local exam, the week that they were doing the examination, they did it in the town hall in Georgetown at that point.
Oh, wow.
She came down with chicken pox. Sorry. And so the possibility of her taking the exam was going out of the window really fast. But Josie insisted she was going to the exam whether Mr. Hunter wanted her there or not, because she had already signed up for it and she was going to go. So they ended up allowing her to take that exam, covered with chicken pox. They locked her into the room. You know, the town hall in Budden, Georgetown, has those 2 rooms on either side.
Right,
And they locked her into the east room. And then these are the days when there's no light, there's no fans, there's nothing to make life any better for you in the town hall, and except they opened the windows. But she was locked into this room so she could do her exam, and she passed it.
Wow.
With flying colors. And then, of course, she had to figure out a way to get to Jamaica to do the course she wanted to do. It was a 3-year course. She finally got a little scholarship from government, and, you know, a little money she had saved and all the rest had helped out. And she went to Jubilee to do a 3-year course, and she did midwifery as her specialty.
Mm-hmm.
And when she came back to Cayman, of course, there was a big celebration because she had succeeded. But there was no public health service in the hospital at the time. And she basically was responsible for starting the public health service in Cayman. She was very aggressive when it came to doing the things that she thought needed to be done. And so they put in a program for immunization for children. She would go around. How she kept up with all of it, I don't know. But she would go around to schools to make sure that children were properly immunized. And they were the days when you did one immunization at a time. So she had to make several rounds to get it all done. And she started the program for women, pregnant women. And that was an unheard of thing. And it even got more spectacular when she included pregnant teens, because she persuaded government that, you know, these children were having babies and, you know, they weren't being taken care of, and they weren't taking care of themselves, and they didn't know how to do this. And so everybody who went to Joseph got a good lecture on how to carry a baby and how to have that baby and how to raise that baby, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But they set up a little clinic then in the back of the hospital that she operated from for many, many years. And she also had this pension for older people as well. And when she finally decided to retire from government after 30-something years, she went to work in all the communities to establish programs for seniors. And well, she started with Bodden Town, of course, and then it moved to other places. So because she felt that seniors were being locked away in their homes and they weren't getting out to participate in the community. And, you know, don't forget, these are the times when transportation was not that great. So if you had a car, you were commandeered to go and get somebody for Joseph for something she was having, because that was only how she was going to get that person there. And she didn't just we talk about Bodden Town, but I'm talking about the Bodden Town district.
Mm-hmm.
When public health when the government wanted to know how many seniors there were in the Bodden Town district, they went to Nurse Joseph, because she kept a rolling list. You know, she would put names on as they got older. She would take names off when they passed on. She always had a current list of people in the community and that were in need of some kind of care, and not just care in terms of medical terms, but care in terms of going to make sure that whoever was there with them is taking care of them, whoever was there was keeping them clean, whoever was there was making sure they were fed properly. All of these things she monitored. She just used her whole day going from one place to the next, checking on people like that. She was also a very active member at that time in the Latter-day Saints Church, which is in Georgetown next to Godfrey's. That was it's a feast chapel now, but at that time it was the Latter-day Saints. And so she was always fundraising for them as well. And she was always doing something in the community in that regard. And the program that she started in Town is still going today at the United Church. But when I moved, when I made the move, when we did the quincentennial, she came on board to help us get stuff done for that. And she met the Duke then. When he came to visit down, Roy introduced her. She was in a little tiff at that time, and she didn't come for the beginning of the program, but she came there in time to take her picture with him. And and then when we moved, because I'd started working on that program for seniors in Town with Dr. Frank, and we had the building, we had it all prepared, and we started having events there, and all kinds of events. During the week, there was enough of us on board at that time that the place was open just about every day. And she was always in the middle of what was going on. So when we got around to deciding what to name it, we named it the Nurse Joseph Senior Center.
Yes. And
we didn't tell her that that's what we were doing. The governor came up for the opening, and it wasn't until we had told her we wanted her to help him draw the curtain. And of course, when it was pulled, her name was there, and she got very emotional about the whole thing because she didn't expect that, she said. But she stayed with us. Worked with us. She was always coming up with ideas for new programs for the center. She was always, you got to do this. You got to invite the governor. It was kind of cute when they had the woman governor, and she came and she says, "Well, have you invited Mrs. Governor yet?" And I said, Joseph. She said, "Well, she is Mrs. Governor. She's not Mr. Governor, so she has to be Mrs. Governor."
That's a good take,
but,
yes.
And she was like I said, she was just extremely active in the community, and she drove. Heavens above, I said when they started putting in the roundabouts, I said, "Josie, you need to get off the road. You cannot navigate those roundabouts." "Oh, yes," she says, "I do." She said, "I drive straight down, all the way down, and I go down South Sound, and I come into Georgetown from that side."
Smart, yes.
She went to Royal Bank, you see, so she would go all the way around South Sound and come down that side. But, in what she also did was she made a tremendous number of friends with visitors to her district.
Okay.
And visitors to this. In fact, she worked for the Browns in the South Sound area as a young girl, and even after she was, growing up, she worked down there. Her aunt, Ianta Carter, worked there, and she would go there and she would help out, and she would work with people up at Peace Bay, and she she just liked to socialize, and of course she wasn't married, she didn't have any children, and this was, her whole entertainment, her whole lifestyle was to go around to all of these people. Not, like I said, not just the Caymanians, but all the foreigners who were living in the community. And we had a lot of people living here then down Mans Road up in the Peace Bay area. And she visited everybody. She knew everybody. She knew everybody by name. And, down when they started Ratcliffe Canal, she knew everybody who was living down in there. And she would tell, this one just built a house there. This one just moved in there. She knew the whole movements of the community. And she kept that up until she was no longer able to do it. She started to drift into Alzheimer's. And mind you, she was still on the road. Wow. But she was, she was going. And she would make her little trip to the bank, and she would go down and check on different people everywhere. And then as she got less and less able to do all of this, and she was getting forgetful too. She would she would go to see someone, and then she would tell you she'd been to see that person, but then she didn't remember it after a while. And for the last few years of her life, she just sort of faded, retreated more and more into herself until the very end. But like I said, she was given the Queen's certificate in that.
Badge of Honor. Yeah, I was trying to find something on that. Do you recall what year that was?
I don't recall offhand what year it is, but we have it in the senior citizen.
Okay. I think there's a listing on the Deputy Governor's website. I'm going to try to find that there as well. Madam Speaker, I want to thank you, very much again, for obliging us and taking our call. And I hope you will hear more of me during this year as well, and we certainly have plans to have you in the studio as well. There are several things coming up where we know that you are, quite knowledgeable about, and I will certainly be in contact with you. I know you don't hear from me as much as you should, and you make sure that you tell me that, when we talk as well. But I give up.
I want people to know. And that you will call me when you want some information. But I also want you to come and visit our center.
Yes.
I keep telling you that. Because all of you people that preach about history and culture, you never make the time to come there to see it.
Well, what we need to do is, I guess, between myself and maybe Sterling, Dwayne Ebanks, to maybe do a broadcast from there and talk about it. Just carry it live. That is something that we should be able to do as well. So we'll explore that possibility.
Yeah, well, like I said, in that house, those two houses, or in those premises, I should say, not just the two houses, the entire almost 4 acres of property. Cayman's history is secured. Now, what happens to it after we pass on? Because, like I tell them, when we started, we were young seniors, and now we are on the other end of the scale 20 years later. But, it's hard to get people to volunteer to help out and to do all this. The maintenance alone of all the artifacts that is in that place is a tremendous task. And the members of the committee, we've had a lot of personal problems this past year. All of our members has had one crisis after the other one in their families, and of course they're the ones who end up having to take the brunt of all of it.
Yeah.
And between the COVID and all the repairs we had to do to the building and everything else, we have not had as many events as we would like. But we do have events there on a regular basis, and it's hard to get. I don't know why up until this last week, Caymanians coming home are anxious to go and visit it. I find that all the time. That happens. And tourists who come, they want to see it, but the actual people, the government has not paid as much attention. It has never been included in their tourism roster of places to visit.
Well,
and so many people that come here, they cannot believe it. They're blown away by the fact that there is just so much history in those two houses. And,
that is something that we'll have to work on as well to get because at some point in time, this legacy has to be carried on by others, and whether or not the government decides to do that, if you don't have individuals in the district who are prepared to carry on that legacy, it could end up being one of those things that we lose again. But Madam Speaker, I don't know if you want to stay on the line. We're going to take a commercial break because I want to give you an opportunity for some wrap-up comments as well. So hang on the line. We're going to take a commercial break and come back to you. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
60 and bossy with J and money. When I trip it easy, trust me. Yeah. Come on, just send some money. I instant entry. Look how you're lucky. Bossy, J and money, bossy. J and money, send you go a yard. Bossy, Jamaica well bossy. 60 and bossy. We well proud.
Celebrate Jamaica 60 with J and money for a chance to win a dream vacation for two to Jamaica, including airfare, resort stay, and more. Send money for a chance to win. Your loved ones will also be entered for a chance to win a brand new car. Competition runs from now until December 24th. J and money 60 and bossy enough.
Call 345-945-2014 for details. Available at J and Money locations across the Cayman Islands.
Bossy, Jamaica well bossy. 60 and bossy.
No J and bank account required.
West Bay, home to Barkas National Park, the touristy flair, a family community, a political powerhouse, From sports enthusiasts to car aficionados, affection for silver thatch roof, no matter how far you may venture, West Bay will always be where the heart is. Home will always be in West Bay. West Bay Pharmacy, caring for your home and your family. West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. Convenient, quality care is just around the corner.
Start your day in the know. Don't miss a beat. Radio Cayman's 7 a.m. news keeps you informed every Monday through Saturday at 7 a.m. Proudly brought to you by Walkers, a reputation for excellence. Learn more about the Walkers Scholarship and Legal Training Program at walkersglobal.com.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, Dr. Steve McPhail. On the phone line, we have Honorable Mary Lawrence, former Speaker in our Legislative Assembly, now Parliament. Madam Speaker, before I throw the mic back over to you, I found another article when I was doing some research because I was looking through the Bodden Town news on the Trade Winds newspaper, and of course, Mr. Willie Wood was the reporter for Bodden Town at that time. And this is one that I found interesting, and you, I'd ask if you know anything about this. It says, a few days ago, while digging a hole for a fence pole, Mr. Henry Terry found an object 3 feet down on his property opposite where he lives. After brushing off the find, it was discovered it was a memorial tablet made of lead. It measured about 4 inches by 6 inches. Inscribed on it are the words, very plain to be seen, as follows: Here lies the body of Annie Tatum, the daughter of Isaac Tatum and Sarah Tatum, his wife, who departed her life September the 8th in the year of our Lord 1754. This marked the 212th year of age. There are 3 old tombs nearby which this inscription could have come from. It can be seen at any time at his home where he lives with his father and mother, Mr. and Mrs. Edward Terry. I wonder if that tablet still exists. Would that be something that you would have, within your collection at the?
No, I don't have that, and I don't. This is back in. This is when we were talking about that recently, a bunch of us, when the newspaper carried news from every district.
Yes.
We had these people who wrote columns for the newspaper, and so whatever was happening in the district, who born, who died, who married, who went away, who came back, and all the was all recorded in that little column every week for everybody to read. And the Cayman Weekly carried that through as well when they took over. But we've lost that personal touch in the newspapers we have here now. In fact, we don't even have a daily newspaper. This is the first time in our history we haven't had one.
And online, you have to subscribe to read it. One of them.
And when you subscribe, there's not much to read, as far as I'm concerned. Not local content anyway. And it centers. It doesn't include the districts. The newspaper is the Times. If we're having an event and we call the Times, they will come and do an article on it, or print some pictures on it or whatever. But the events the things that are happening in the districts, we're isolated, especially on this Bodden Town but this eastern end, Bodden Town North Side East End. There is so much history in these 3 districts, but it's not being put out for people to read or things to hear. There's so many good stories in this district.
Now, one more question for you.
I know the tombs they're talking about because they were across the street on the ocean side. You know, they buried along the beach.
Okay.
And they were there in those great trees for a very long time until somebody decided maybe they were pirates' graves and went there one night and turned them over.
Wow.
So,
Madam Speaker, as you were speaking there, I just wrote down a few words here. I'm going to read them to you. I'm saying that there's a lack of national pride in these islands. We tend to destroy the progress made, and we refuse to celebrate the contributions and the achievements of the previous generations of Caymanians. Do you subscribe? Do you believe in that?
Oh, I believe in that. We've got blank pages in the people's history. I'm not talking about the political history. Different people have tried to write that. But the people's history, the stories about the people themselves, about the families, about their accomplishments, all of the things they did. I was at my daughter's house last night, and I was looking at the kitchen cabinets. That after the Ivan hurricane, you know, there'd been other chipboard, and they were the doors and frames of wood, but all the thick fittings were other chipboard. And Robinson Rankin from East End was helping me with the repair on the house. And I said, well, we're going to have to pull the cabinets up. He said, why? I said, well, you know, all this chipboard, it's destroyed. We have to take it out. You have to take the cabinets out. And he said, no, Miss Lawrence, you don't have to take that out. He said, I can fix that. And he went and he got wood, and he rebuilt those cabinets to perfection. If you look at them, you would not think that a professional had not built those cabinets. And he was he's an all-around person. You had a socket needed replaced in your house, he could do that. You had a fan needed putting up, he could do that. He could do. The only thing he wouldn't do was paint. He did not like painting. But when I look at that and I look at the skill, the workmanship in that, and you understand that this man, I don't know how far, I'm sure he didn't go more than 3rd or 4th grade in school, could sit down and envision it. He could come to my house and I would say, I got some blinds, but they're the wrong size. And that's no problem. He put that tape on them, he cut them off, and he put them up. I said, but you need to read the instructions. He said, but I know what you're supposed to do. And that was that, you know. And my thing is, all of these people, the people we had in our community, the builders, Mr. Cedric Lever, Ellsworth Terry, his father-in-law, Mr. Earl Terry, all of these people that were in this community that they kept this community going. But there's no record of them. The only records we have are the ones we have at the house. And what we have tried to do, we have 2 houses up there. The second house is what we call we celebrate the families. We go to the families and we get the photographs, whatever they have, and we blow them up and we put them in frames and we put them on the wall. So that when you come there, you might see your grandmother, your great-grandmother there. And we can tell you who they are. But we have pots in that house that is over 200 years old.
Wow.
You know, came down through the Barry's family. And I said to myself, why is it that we don't want to talk about who we are and where we came from? Because we didn't come here the easy way. When you look at Cayman history and realize how people learn to make do and how they learn to, skills that kept them going, all the craft work. And I'm not talking about thatch now, because we celebrate thatch. We have a whole room for that up there. But we have a room of sewing machines too, and all the embroidery and the crochet and all the weaving and the rugs, and everything was used. There was nothing wasted. Everything was used and reused, and but they kept the community going. It made us who we are today. And, you know, all we know about now is we give these children the little things in their hand from time they're babies, and their little fingers run across it, but they're not really learning anything from it. And the fact of the matter is that we have invited on numerous occasions the schools to come to Bodden Town. They don't.
Yep.
Yes,
Very
but
rare exception. In fact, the private schools come more than when the government schools do. We went to Northside, and we do this on a regular basis too. They invited us. They had a Heritage Day, and we went up there, two of us, and we dragged I don't know how much stuff, truckload and carloads of stuff up there, and we set up an exhibition in one of the classrooms so that the children could visit it and they could see it. And we could, because we do miniatures. We have a little miniature caboose. We have a little miniature rope making machine. All of these things so that the children can understand
where they come from.
Where we come from.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
You know, and it is not a question of the children don't want to know. The children do want to know. One of the big surprises I had was the lady who runs, and she's a teacher at John Gray, the Pilgrim Holiness program for young people in Northside. She asked if she could bring her youth groups there. And they came, and I'm showing them the national heroes. And I said, oh, we have one that's not on the wall yet. We don't have a good photo of her. We're going to get it, though. And, you know, Mrs. Shire, Leader Ross Shire.
Oh, yes.
And when one of the little girls piped up and she said, she wrote the Cayman song. Mm-hmm. She didn't say the national song. She said the Cayman song. And she started to sing it. And all the children in that group joined in. Mm-hmm. And I said to her, the lady, I said, Miss Cassandra, I said, where did they learn that? She says, oh, every time we have a meeting on a Friday evening, we sing the national song and the national anthem, and then we have a prayer. Mm-hmm. She said, because they must know their history. And they were the only children, a couple of the children who had been in that group, they were the only children in the Northside School who could come into that exhibition we had there and say, oh, I saw that when I was down at your place, and they could tell the other children what it was all about. Mm-hmm. So it's not that the children don't want to know. It is that we are not telling them. Mm-hmm. And stories in this country, like I have always said, and I'll repeat this again, I grew up in Cayman. I wasn't born in 1932. But all the stories of a 1932 hurricane and what happened in Boddentown and what happened in Cayman Brac and what happened throughout this island, I heard them all as I grew up.
Me too.
Mm-hmm. You know? And then you come to the Ivan hurricane, and not one school child in this island know what I'm talking about when I get to their schools.
Yep.
So what happened to this conversation that we had going? We didn't have a written history, that's true. But we had an oral history that was passed down from generation to generation, and we're not doing it. Yep. We're not talking about it. We have a radio station and Cayman Radio. We have a television station. But none of them are. We should have a program just on history.
Exactly.
Alone.
Exactly.
Yep.
Instead of all of this stuff about
a program that, like, you could. When I was years ago, you could turn on RJR up in Jamaica. It came on every morning at a particular time, and everybody tuned into it. It should be that kind of program.
Yeah, Madam Speaker.
It's not a random thing, a regular program that comes on at a particular time.
Yeah. Madam Speaker, I want to thank you. I want to thank you very much. I know I've kept you longer than I had planned, but we will be in touch. And we will hear more from you as well. One of the questions that you can prepare for later on in that same issue of the Trade Winds newspaper, you wrote composed a poem, Man Bills, and one of these days we want you to talk about that as well. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
We need to talk. Okay. We've noticed you've been going to KFC a lot more than usual lately. And
that's fine. We know you love it.
We just don't understand how you can afford it.
The KFC What a Deal menu starting at just $3.50 gives you lots of great choices and value. Available at KFC Baytown Plaza, Shudden Road, and in the Strand. The KFC What a Deal value menu. The deal everyone should know about. Come to KFC and enjoy a variety of tasty choices at surprising prices.
KFC, it's finger-licking good.
Increase your chances to win during the Rubis Pure Joy promotion. Don't miss Double Stamp Tuesdays and Thursdays at Jose's Rubis. Reflections offers you gas for less, and each time you fuel up at Jose's Rubis, you can enter to win weekly prize giveaways, plus the grand prize of a beautiful piece of land in Grand Cayman.
I'm sorry, what?
What did you say? Yes, Double Stamp Tuesdays and Thursdays are back at Jose's. Lower priced fuel, awesome prizes, and your chance to win a $150,000 piece of land. Don't forget, on Tuesdays and Thursdays at Jose's Rubis, you not only get gas for less, you get double stamps to enter to win a $150,000 piece of land in the Rubis Pure Joy promotion. Be entered to win in the Rubis Pure Joy promotion by January 27th.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. Again, we want to thank Madam Speaker, Honorable Mayor Lawrence, for sharing her experience with Nurse Josie, with us and with you as well. We do have another caller. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Many years ago, on a Sunday, I went to check with one of my workers in Windsor Park and another one down in the swamp.
Uh-huh.
And I met Miss Josie down there on a bicycle. And I stopped to talk to her and asked her what she was doing there. And she said that she was looking for these young kids who had not come back to get the shots, and she had a record of that, and she was doing that on her spare time, and she was not paid by government for that. And I just want to say the dedication that she has shown to this island. And on another occasion, when she was starting up the little museum, she was, friends with me and my wife. And the wife had two beautiful bronze and nickel kettles that her grandmother had gave her that she brought from Sweden when she migrated to the United States. So my wife, she said that, if she could use them to establish this little museum, my wife discussed it quite a long time with her because they were really rare possessions that my wife really loved as she brought them when she migrated from New York. But she told her she would loan them to her, but she would not give them to her to get this little museum established. So Miss Josie, she has served this island in many capacities. And I want to add my condolences to her,
Yep.
because she did so much.
Yep. Caller, before you go, and I'm not going to call your name, but I'm sure you don't have a problem identifying yourself if you need to. But as a former member of the Caymanian Protection Board, and I believe also a deputy chair of the Caymanian Protection Board, you know the issue with temporary work permits and how they were treated in those years. Can you speak to that a little bit? And I know, being a current member of a board like myself and like Dr. Steve McFreel, you're limited in what you can say, but you can certainly talk about the past.
Yes, I must say, I am profoundly disappointed on how temporary permits now, because I have phoned up the Immigration Department on it. Many years ago, a temporary permit was only given on to special situations like if it was cable and wireless, needed someone to do something to the telephone exchange or CUC or some other type of work that could not be achieved on the island. And now you can get a temporary work permit, can last you up for 6 months. And then they stay on.
While the full application is being processed, if the submission is made within a given period of time.
And not only that, when the 8 years roll around, if you do not apply for your permanent residence, because I know all these laws, you have to return. They stay here. They haven't passed the exam or anything, and they're allowed to stay here and they remain here. And this is why we saddle with so many people here. Yep. I do not know why. And I have made several calls. I must tell you this because I am not scared to take up the issue where I see it is being not enforced. And I have made several phone calls, and I must tell you, very disappointedly, that I have not had one return call. But I will say this, I'm very determined. I am going to make a visit personally to discuss these issues. It is a disgrace that these temporaries is allowed almost to go into full year or 6 months permits, and no permit, no one is taking into consideration of these lower types of permits. For instance, I know I picked up someone for a ride one day, and I was questioning her since, I have an interest in it. She said, I have a work permit as a gardener. This was a woman. And she said, but I'm looking work. Do you have any? I said, no, I have a gardener. She said, this woman put in a permit for me. So then I started to question her. And this woman had 25 permits, gardeners.
And they're allowed to freelance, get to take the permit.
I'm saying, if these permits had came to the board and they didn't have any work permits for them, I am telling you without a doubt, the board would have turned it down. But it is my belief, I don't have any proof, that these administrators is granting these permits, and I must tell you, I am 2,000% against it, because they do not dig into it enough to determine these things. When you get a permit like that, they should look to see if they can substantiate it by the contracts they have. They just can't say, I have work.
They're held to the same standards as the board, and they have all of the tools at their disposal to investigate those things. Caller, I want to thank you very much for that. We have to continue to have more of these conversations as well. We have to go to a commercial break. We do have a caller on hold, and we will only have about 12 minutes left in the show as well, and several comments and questions, but we probably won't get to them today. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
So much happening so fast, too much. It is hard for me to follow my health care instructions. The private counseling with West Bay Pharmacy literally saved my life.
At West Bay Pharmacy, we know how complex medications can be. Our pharmacists are delighted to offer you personalized one-on-one healthcare counseling, free medication review, therapeutic callbacks, and we will liaise with your physician to ensure you receive the best in quality medical care.
Quality of life has a whole new meaning with the right pharmacy to support you. Thank you, West Bay Pharmacy.
West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. Convenient quality care is just around the corner. Now you can WhatsApp your West Bay Pharmacy prescriptions to 516-0777.
Since 1993, Rotary Central has worked diligently each year to provide quality bus shelters to our community. A traveling convenience to our school children, the elderly, young people going to work, guest workers, and visitors using the public bus. We, Rotary Central, help you, our advertisers, make it happen. Your marketing dollar travels a far way. Positioning your message, your product, your services, your presence in over 83 bus shelters. Every dollar you spend, every advert you place helps to build another bus shelter, providing modest comfort for Cayman travelers. Reserve space now on the only billboard medium in the Cayman Islands. Email rotaryshelters@gmail.com. rotaryshelters@gmail.com. The Bus Shelters, a partner in community convenience. Another inspiration program by Rotary Central Cayman Islands.
Your Radio Cayman 6 p.m. news, Monday through Friday, is brought to you by Logic. Your life connected.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We're on the last leg of the show this morning. We still have 2 callers on hold. We're going to make those 2 callers the last callers. Let's grab the first caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning.
Good morning. How art thou?
I am well. Good morning to you and Dr.
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning.
And again, our sincere condolences to you and your family.
Yes.
Yes, sir. And to the whole Cayman Islands, both you and the whole Cayman Islands are happy and peaceful, restful, and healthy New Year, because 22 was mean-spirited to all of us, I guess. I wanted to call her from earlier, but of course I couldn't find phone. About the nurse Joseph thing. But first of all, I am still poor, still Caymanian, still downtrodden, still conquered, and then I can talk about the cable and wireless toll-free number that would help peeps like myself. It's still the same situation out here. When I call in on that number, what was the toll-free number, they tell me unless I want to pay big fees, I must get off the line. It seems that this situation has not yet been resolved.
No, it hasn't. It hasn't, unfortunately.
Okay. Thank you. I just needed to hear that. But talking about Nurse Josie, my mother held her up in front of me when she wanted to browbeat me about Nurse Josie. And I was just 5, 6, 7, 8 years old coming up. But she had her out in front of me very early on, because everybody was so proud of her. Because, like Madam Speaker said, I don't know, but Mama didn't imply that she had it easy, so I don't think she had it easy. And yes, she was working as a maid for people, just with an intention that she was going to make it, and make it she did. But I'm not hearing much about the public health service that I think, in my humble opinion, seemed almost single-handedly introduced by Nurse Josie. But she's gone, but at least people of her age group in Bordentown and abroad really cherished her and nurtured her, and they were so proud of her. Like I said, I was 4 years old, and I was hearing about Nurse Josie, how she had worked, and her Mama used to say how she had done her nursing upside down because she was so eager to be a midwife. She did her midwifery first, and then I guess, I don't know what the stipulations called for, but she went back to and did her registered nursing. So she spent a lot of time in nursing school. But yes, she was quite a woman, and somebody that all Caymanians could be proud of. And not only the Nurse Joseph Senior Center, but something else like that fast tracking of young Caymanian, male and females, to become nurses. Yeah, we could give it that name too.
And have a scholarship. Have a scholarship in her name as well.
Her name, and one of the criterias for the scholarship is to write a biography, write a history of Miss Joseph's life, And the one who did the best essay on Miss Josie would get the scholarship. You see, we have to start building our society. We have to start building and building our people, getting them ready for the future in this terrible world that they will have to face. This cutthroat world that's out there. We're not doing that for our people. And I say, giving our people a few days here and there on the rock and roll, it's not enough.
Not enough.
It's not enough. And what's gonna happen, ma'am? What's gonna happen, ma'am? If we don't stop what we're doing, if we don't stop this inequality, this concession given and this consultation given to other people from outside, giving our money away, we are going to pay the price for it in the future. We are going to suffer. We are going to suffer uncertain future, inflation and inequality. That is what we are going to suffer in the future, and that's going to be something that they're going to have to get a bigger regiment, bigger police force, bigger Coast Guard, and everything, and we will be non-existent soon. I do not know why is it that people don't give that a priority rather than building a new road, going here and again there. It's the people that you should be developing.
Caller?
Yes, sir. Thank you. I just had to listen to a little bit of that diet.
Sure.
Oh, sweet music to my ears.
Okay, we'll talk. Take care.
Bye-bye.
All the best.
Bye-bye.
Let's grab the last caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning to you, Mr. Uwasi, and to Dr. Max.
Good morning, sir. Good morning.
It's wonderful to extol all these virtues and what we should be doing every day, praising and these icons and a lot of other names, as Miss Mary said, blank pages. When you try to supply them with information, the blank page is not received. It's very disappointing. I just want to say today is another icon day. It's Captain Paul Hurlston's birthday.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
My cousin, Captain Paul. So happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Captain Paul.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much. We're going to have to get Captain Paul on Facebook there, Miss Susan. He wasn't. They didn't list him on there. Well, we want to wish Captain Paul a happy birthday, a happy birthday as well. Doc, I know we may have enough time to talk a little bit more, and this question this will tie into the to the question on immigration. This person wanted said that we were talking about people coming into our shores and completely evading detection, despite all the sophisticated equipment and personnel that we have. And they say that it brought to mind 2 Afghans. Actually, it was 3 Afghans that mysteriously appeared some years back. It was quite years back. I was chief immigration officer then as well. And they were found wandering on the shores in South Sound and had varying versions of how they came to be found here. Do we have any idea of what became of them? Are they happily settled and become an invisible part of our society? Inquiring minds would like to know. And I should add that when we searched their belongings and their person, they also had Cayman Islands dollars in their pockets as well. Now, one of the judges of the Grand Court, trying to remember his name, is one of those aggressive judges. He made a finding of fact that they arrived through the airport based on video that we had there. Now, our argument was that at some point in time they came to the Cayman Islands via Cuba, but they returned. So he made a finding of fact that they had come that way, and as a result of that, our efforts that we were trying to make at that point in time to deport, to have them return to Afghanistan was unsuccessful. Now, I know that there were several individuals and entities in the Cayman Islands that had an interest. One of the youngest one of them, he spoke English quite fluently. Eventually, he went. He I think he went to the
became a
medical school here, and then went on to the UK and did medicine in the UK.
We put him through medical school. Our money put him, send him someone who we don't know how he got here. We don't know how he came into the country, or if we know, or if we knew, we covered it up.
But government didn't fund his education. But it was done by private entities.
It was done by Caymanians.
Yeah.
Caymanians wouldn't do to other Caymanians.
True.
They wouldn't do to other. They wouldn't raise money to send another Caymanian to medical school.
Now, as far as the other two are concerned, I'm not sure, because I believe there were efforts underway to have their families join them here as well. But I'll have to inquire about that as to what has ever happened to the other two. You know, one of the things that we have in the Cayman Islands, though, and we see this over and often, and not that they have to, express, any gratitude to us, but the number of Cuban refugees that we have had come through this country from the 60s. I remember when we used to swim out in Hogstye Bay, when they used to come on the big fishing boats those days, and they remained on the fishing boats until they were able to go on to the United States. How many of them have, in any way, publicly or otherwise, thank the Cayman Islands, the people of the Cayman Islands, or the government of the Cayman Islands for what we have done for them? Not many.
Because they are not refugees. They are not refugees, Orrett.
No, in those days, some of them were genuine refugees because they were fleeing from the Castro dictatorship. This isn't. I'm talking about the early 60s. I'm not talking about the ones now.
They are not. Those who are coming here every day, sending to tell their families and the friends in Cuba how easy it is to come to Cayman and what they will give you when you come here. They are not refugees. They are
economic migrants.
Economic migrants looking for a better way of life. They're like any other Jamaicans or any other Cuban Canadians who
any other nationality.
Any other nationals who can come here. They are coming here because they can't pay their way. They can't get a visa to travel to here, so they come here illegally to find a better way of life, to get a new motor car, to get a new house, to get a new job, to get better clothes, to get better food. They are not refugees. They are economic migrants looking for a better way of life, and they have been fooling us all along, and we have been going along with this, and we should not allow this to happen, because other countries are sending them back. Are picking them up and taking them back and putting them back in the Havana Harbor. We are not doing the same thing.
Okay. Doc, we have about a minute left. I want to give you an opportunity for some closing comments.
Well, I tried to open this conversation this morning, talk about unburdened, people unburdened by conscience and unfettered by greed. This is what is happening in this country. And the problem that we have in here is that while we acknowledge the investment of money, and we are giving money away in the form of concessions and consultations fees, we are not rebuilding and training our people to compete in this nasty, cutthroat world that they have to live in. It's not enough to give our people a few days of employment cleaning the streets. These inequalities, I say, are fast dumbing down our own people to a ghetto level. If this is not quickly corrected, we will face an uncertain future, a future of inflation and inequalities. And the latest thing I saw now is that our government that's what they told me, has some $20 million in their hands to do beach replacement. Why are we putting that money when we told them every Caymanian
they ignored the advice.
Told them, do not build your place so close to the water. It retards the flow of the tides, the flow of the currents, the flow of the water coming up, waves, the tides going up and in and out. And they refused and said that we were dumb and we were stupid. And not only they build their buildings there, they build their swimming pools and they put their walls down there, and they destroyed our own beaches, the beaches that we took care of for so many generations, and now we want to give them money.
We're going to reward them.
I would not give them one nickel. I would not give them one nickel.
Okay. Doc, I want to thank you very much. I'm going to leave our listening and viewing audience with this. In the late 1970s, somewhere in 1979. Either one or several of our members of our Legislative Assembly attended a Commonwealth Parliamentary Association meeting in the Bahamas.
Oh, yes.
And the advice and the discussions on immigration then was that an open door policy could jeopardize living standards.
That was then.
1979,
Yes.
and folks, we are living it today.
And by
that
the
will be a subject of future
And by the
discussions.
way, in that same conference, I understood that same member. They were talking about the death rate in Cayman.
One per person.
Because he was talking about the death and the birth rate and the growing population in the Caribbean. And they were asking, what's the death rate in Cayman? And he said, well, we don't have any problems with the death rate in Cayman. We have one death every person.
One per person. Folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman and by extension For the Record into your homes, into your vehicles as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, wherever that may be. I also want to remind you that we are our brothers and our sisters keepers. There is always someone out there who's less fortunate than we are, and I ask you to extend a helping hand to them. If you can't do that, then I suggest you donate to a worthy charity, because we always want to consider those who need, not necessarily those who want or even those who crave. So I say to you, have a great day. Continue to support your radio station, Radio Cayman. John Sterling, Dweeny Muggs at 12:15 for Talk Today. And as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these three beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
For the Record, proudly brought to you by
Vamped Motors, the only authorized Ford and Toyota dealership serving the Cayman Islands. Coca-Cola, available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors. Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. Brand Source Home Gallery, inspiring luxury. West Bay Pharmacy, taking care of your health. And JN Money. From abroad to yard. Fast, affordable, convenient. Doctors Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctors Hospital, always there for you. Call 949-6066.
Follow Radio Cayman on Twitter. All the latest information, breaking news, community events, and more. Follow us at twitter.com/Radio